My presentation is on the agriculture of commodity cocoa beans, and I'm going to be focusing on how the downstream bioprocesses impact the polyphenol content. Cocoa beans are grown from the Theobroma cacao plant in tropical zones around the equator. There are several products that can be derived from cocoa beans, including cocoa butter, cocoa powder, and of course the byproduct chocolate. The shells and husks of the beans can also be used as mulch, potash, or animal feed. So what are polyphenols? They are a naturally occurring bioactive compound in cocoa beans, and they represent about 12 to 18% of the cocoa bean's dry weight prior to any bioprocessing. Polyphenols have also been found to have a positive impact on human health due to their anti-radical properties that can be used as a preventative measure against several diseases such as cardiovascular disease, diabetes, various forms of cancer, and neurodegenerative diseases. However, polyphenols are also responsible for the bitter taste of raw cocoa, and therefore their content is decreased throughout the downstream processes. This is a summary of the bioprocesses performed on cocoa beans. The first step post-harvest is to store the pods to precondition them for fermentation. During fermentation, the pulp is removed, which is important in removing the bitterness. Next, the water content is decreased to below 7% by drying, and then excess moisture and acidity is removed during roasting. Roasting is also responsible for developing the chocolate flavor and smell. Grinding then turns the cocoa nibs into a paste, and conching develops the desired viscosity, texture, and flavor. Lastly, the paste is cooled to ensure proper crystallization prior to molding. It is estimated that throughout all the downstream processes necessary to transform raw cocoa beans into chocolate, the polyphenol content decreases by 70%. Fermentation is the main step that depletes the polyphenol content, and this is due to the pH conditions that promote degradation. It's also important to note that pod storage, drying, and roasting also affect polyphenol content, but is not as significant as fermentation. This figure is from a study that investigated ways to retain the maximum polyphenol content. It tests after various pod storage and fermentation times and found that the maximum retention of 88% was after 7 days of pod storage and 6 days of fermentation. However, again, it's important to remember that this concentration is further depleted during roasting and drying, depending on the method used. Cocoa extract has been used as a dietary supplement because it has all the same benefits of raw cocoa. So this research is really important because if we can find ways to maintain the naturally high content of polyphenols in cocoa beans throughout all the downstream bioprocesses, their products can be better used in disease prevention and their benefits will be much more accessible. Environmental factors play a major role in the quality of cocoa beans. Increasing atmospheric pressure is expected to affect cocoa agriculture as farmers may have to relocate to areas of higher altitude to combat the increasing temperatures. Fermentation and drying are also both temperature-sensitive processes, so there is a worry that global warming will also impact this. Research will have to focus on ways of ensuring the sustainability of cocoa agriculture, as well as developing varieties of cocoa beans that can better endure a changing climate.